Okay. Where has the world brought us? What has life created out of itself? What has the highest authority bestowed on the lowest? How able will our species be in the void? And after all that will happen, how mighty will the human legacy be? What is the might of the human legacy? That means human beings were an interesting story in the cosmos. Honestly, I gotta make this a quick talk. There's like 16% battery. Really, what it is the human beings care for its greatest outcome. Human beings are creatures that have played the game of survival. Survival rendered the organism narcissistic. The survival of the individual meant the individual could continue to participate in the collective. Now, many individuals have survived in this modern age. And so the idea comes as if, what about our collective? That means if 8 billion organisms each are implementing their own strategy, and in the midst of this there is chaos. In other words, to convert chaos into order, one has to find the source of chaos. If I was to say the source of chaos for the human species, it's really fear. Fear of our temporary life. Human beings are not acting like immortal beings. They're acting like mortal. That means we're afraid of what will happen because we don't know, because there is an ending. So many human decisions are made out of fear. Now, if we were to make a decision out of love, people say, that love would care for continuity. The caring for continuity leads to immortality or eternity. So we can say that human beings should adopt two strategies to life. One strategy is, where will my existence lead, or what will it lead to? So one strategy is, what is your mortal strategy on Earth? What would you do if you were a mortal entity? And then what would be your immortal strategy on Earth? Imagine there is some core essence to the human being. Beyond the human, there is the being. And imagine, in the core essence of the being of this existence, there is a part of you that cannot go anywhere because it is it. So what that means is, like, the world has no world to go to. When human consciousness shifts from the way it is kept, I think more than we're individuals, we're an intelligence that can maintain itself individually. I feel that there is no such thing as individualism, actually. Maybe in the realm of form, in the realm of shape, in the realm of shape and space. Just like we need a space between two words in a sentence, similarly, there needs to be a space between forms so they can be considered as separate forms. The might of the human legacy is a suggestion of what does humanity do with its visible life and what does humanity do with its invisible life. It's another way of saying 8 billion human beings on earth, right? What do they do in their own earth behind their eyes, and what do they do with the earth that we're all in? So we can say earth 1, earth 1 is an earth. It's like there is the outer earth where we're all in, and then there's the inner earth, which your mind renders its own version of reality. Most likely, if you have opinions as an individual, you have found a container for yourself. You have found a way to categorize how your attention identifies out of the plethora or out of the various range of perceptions. That means there's so many ways to look at life. How do we choose what way to look at? If we don't do anything, we will at some point realize what's there before our effort. I find that to be the nature of being. When we look at human beings, we in some sense find systems at work. So if we wanted to know certain organizational systems that all human beings have in common, so the legacy of the human being has to do with the destiny of these systems. The future of these systems will suggest what sort of advanced humanity we have. One consideration is the structure of the family. So the family is kind of like a system. Human beings are creatures that align their intelligence in accordance to the roles they play. Carl Jung made this idea of the role way more sophisticated. In human beings, there are archetypes influencing us. So, for example, if you're a man and then there's an opportunity for you to be a father, right? So it's like the archetype you have of the father comes to your mind. Or when I think of like what an advanced human being is, that sort of inner discovered archetype is functioning. Ultimately, I'm saying, all right, we have 8 billion human beings on this planet. The consciousness allows us to have organization. What are the common organizational systems? One of them is family. So we have family structures. I'm going to read this list here. It's a long list, actually. Family structures. Almost all human societies organize individuals into family units, which may vary in size and complexity. These include nuclear families, extended families, clans, and tribes. So, what we find common in human beings is they group up, they go into community psychology. The next thing we have that human beings have in common is economic systems. While the specifics may differ, every human society has some form of economic system for producing, distributing, and consuming goods and services. This includes barter systems. Barter systems were systems where the dude's like, yo, I got a shovel. You have like you know, you have like a wrench. Let's trade. Something like that. They're trading objects. Objects are replacing each other, but then when money comes into the system, the object has another dimension of value. Market economies, centrally planned economies, etc. We have political systems. So we had the family system, we had the economic system, and now we have a political system. All societies have systems for making decisions that affect the group, including leadership and governance structures. These range from tribal leaderships to democracies, monarchies, and dictatorships. And honestly, modern leadership is pretty much left to how human is the direction for the human. So the preservance of humanity means there is something money cannot buy, and that's the value of a living human being. So if money is more important than human life, that is mental illness. But this doesn't mean money cannot advance human life because it's the same thing as food. It's like saying if somebody has more food, do they live a better life? Depends on how they manage it. If they eat all the food at once, it's as if like, disaster. But anyways, let's keep going. So there's political systems, meaning there's leadership, all human beings, whether it's the family. So in a nuclear family, the father has the leadership archetype, right? The parents have it, but the father has in the parent group. But it depends. In modern times, everything's changed. So the single mother is the leadership archetype. So, the easiest way to teach children about about other systems is by bringing it into the family system. Then we have educational systems. Methods for passing knowledge and skills from one generation to the next are universal, though the formality and structure of these systems vary greatly. So, in the attempt to answer what organizational systems human beings have in common so far, family, economic, political, educational, then we go to religious or spiritual systems. Most societies have some form of religious or spiritual belief system that provides a framework for understanding the universe and the individual's place in it. The religious system is there to, in some sense, help the human being grapple with the idea of being found in a meaningless vastness of shape and form and space and possibility. So you've opened your eyes in an infinite place, even though you're a temporary part of it, physically. So then we have legal and judicial systems. To maintain social order, societies have systems of laws and methods for resolving disputes. These can include customary laws, formal legal codes, and various forms of courts or tribunals. So there is this attitude in modern and in the youth, in certain youth of our modern times, where they think that laws must be broken, right? But the idea is like without laws, you can't even eat a sandwich. So imagine you're at this shawarma place, and if there wasn't a law of everybody line up and pay one at a time, imagine everybody just attacking the kitchen of a shawarma place. Like the guy would have to like defend the shawarma with a knife or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the idea is that we need laws because laws become code for an organizational system. So without laws, the organizational system cannot even be recognized. Laws are like boundaries for possible behavior, which is still in lines with the efficiency of other parts of the system, right? Then we have healthcare systems. All societies have ways to deal with health and illness, whether through traditional medicine, community healers, or modern healthcare institutions. Then we have social norms and etiquette, so behavioral system. Unwritten rules about acceptable behavior are a form of social organization found in every human group. So yeah, this is very common, but if you shift between cultures, your understanding of these might differ. Then we have communication systems. Every society has developed some form of communication, be it language, symbols, or other means to convey information or ideas. And 10, we have defense or military systems. Organizational structures for protecting the society from external threats are common, varying from informal militias to structured military forces. There's many other systems, but guys, the idea pretty much is that these are 10 areas that the human legacy relates to. So the human being has to be like, what's going to happen to the family a million years from now? Like, let's say 10,000 years from now. What's going to happen to the economical system 10,000 years from now? What's going to happen to the political system 10,000 years from now? What's going to happen to the educational system 10,000 years from now? Let me answer these. Family structures. You will most likely feel like your whole species is your family in the future. Economic systems. I have this vision that money is going to be replaced with points, and everybody is going to have an ever growing point system from the moment you're born. So, from the moment you're born, it's as if an advanced civilization will come and say, all right, you know, this human being has a growing account. I don't know, maybe something modified. I don't know. There could be problems with that. Anyways, but I think it's going to go into a point system, you know? So money's going to become points. It's going to become digits. It's all just going to be numerology to a degree without the substance. Political systems, I had this vision that in the future AI is going to just give human beings policies and majorities are going to just vote on it. So political systems being requiring individual humans might become obsolete. So who knows? AI might give us better options, than just an individual human leadership. But anyway, so that's for far future. Educational systems. In the educational systems, there could be the instant reception of information through cyberspace. So right now, the content in my mind has to be spoken so you can hear it, right? But in the future, if I just connect my mind to a server where everybody else is connected, every thought I have is accessible at any time to anyone. So right now, you can't see my inner realms. I have to vocalize them, transcribe them, and vocalize them. I have to literally turn the images behind my eyes in my inner realms into words, and then say these words in a way where accurately aligns to the dynamism of what's behind my eyes. So at least I've trained myself to do that. I could be one of history's most interesting conveyors of the mind. I don't know. So educational system information access is going to shift. People are going to have information. What they're going to need education on is to be human. So there's going to be hilariously human educational systems for human beings in the future. That means that it's the educational systems there to teach you how to be human in a society where certain factors have shifted to such a degree where the human mind shifts from the human archetype. So if you speed up some part of this life, the humanization factor reduces because the human being doesn't know what to do with the change. Healthcare systems, all fast food stores are going to be healthcare stations. Human beings are going to have pods. Right now, like in the next 10 years, they're even talking about having like they can grow organs and all of this. So the healthcare system is going to become very next level. Human lifespan is going to increase pretty much. Social norms and etiquette, people are going to realize there has never been anything normal about this world. Normal is what we say so we don't freak out, so others don't freak out when we're around them. That's what it is. And let me tell you why, because we're all so different that if you put our minds, if we got to see a camera that had recorded everything, like imagine there was like this third person view camera recording everything from your life till now. If every one of us saw each other's private lives, like private journeys, we would in some sense be uncomfortable with each other, because what is designed for your eyes is designed for your eyes. There's that factor too. When it comes to communication systems, this is where some podcaster managed to convince the global human society to shift the archetype of what it means to be a human being to actually be it's not what human beings should do on earth politically. It's more like what should a species do in the void. When you get to that level, you become a completely different caliber of a human, right? You're not caring for just the past. See, it's like this. Right now, you most likely care for your own individual past, your own individual present, and your own individual future. This is the responsibility of an individual in an individual world. But when you realize you're present in a collective system, the responsibility has to connect to all the dynamism. So it's more like we're like, as the human being is advancing, it is discovering itself having an innate ability to be present as space of mind. So really, the original being in the future will be a being that is equivalent to space kept in attention. But really, what the being is being considered now is more like a biological structure, right? It's like a question mark is driving a biological vehicle, and we're like, yo, this biological vehicle is the question mark, but it does not explain certain factors that animate the moment. When it comes to defense or military systems, my vision was all violence is moved to cyberspace. In the future, because human life will be so precious and so honored, it is illegal, okay, to take human life. But it doesn't mean the human being cannot be condemned to cyberspace. So in the future, the prisons could be something where the person's just, you know, immortally living in a cyberspace realm until they can behave properly in that realm and come back to the real world. So it's going to be a sort of onionization. That means it's going to be like an onion, right? There's going to be layers to civilization and sectors, right? The more let's say hurtful and destructive you are, the more you deserve an artificial earth. The more you are real and honor reality, you deserve the original earth, right? So in the future, it's going to be something where wars are going to be fought like video games. So there's going to be like web development companies. They're going to go to the UN. They're like, yo, guys, hold on. Before these two nations destroy each other, right, let's have the masculinity of men would duel back in the day. So we're going to have two world leaders. We're going to have web development companies, game development companies create the most amazing depiction of the exact military of those two nations that want to go to war. And in cyberspace, they fight. And whoever wins, that's the winner. Right? So it's going to be this era where human beings are going to have access to artificial earths that they can modify and render. We have that in our like inner realms and imagination to some degree, but in the future it's going to be different. So violence is going to move into cyberspace because the consequence of my violence in cyberspace in accordance to the reality is nothing. So when a character dies in a video game, people don't cry for the death of that character. Do you see why? Because the character respawns. Now when we look at human life, we're seeing the constant, it's like, I don't want to say I don't believe in reincarnation, but I do feel the periodic table is reincarnating as manifestation all the time. So what reincarnation could be is that it's like one being was created, but it's constantly being reconstituted every life. It could be a sort of idea like that. So anyways, the might of the human legacy has to do with how great the quality of the energetic effort of the human species was. So if you do not perform your greatest, then it's as if you cannot expect the greatest result. But when you've gone all out, that's when a miracle needs to respond to you. That's like knocking on the door of a miracle and realizing the door is open. When I say pathways to human pathways to cosmic advancement, is because I had this impression that to be a human being is a phase. To be human is a phase of nature. And once this phase finishes, it doesn't mean the memory of the human is gone. So it could be that our mortal life, so imagine if we were living like three lives at the same time. One life finishes, it's like three candles at different lengths. The soul is like a candle that you cannot see how high it is. It is higher than the clouds, but it's a candle that's lit. The mind is a candle under the atmosphere. It's visible to a realm of the world, right? But the body is a very small candle. So if our body, mind, and soul, the ancient trio, each was a simultaneous life, the lifespan of each life, each simultaneous life in the moment is different. So it could be that I have 100-year-old like I have 100 years to have a body, but it could be that I have like 10 million years to be a mind. And then when it comes to the notion of the soul is not an individual relationship to reality. It's actually realizing your separate life is inseparable with everything else that's happening. And when you realize this, you relax beyond your ego. Really. I'm just trying to see what is greatness here. It's not about enlightenment. Let me tell you why. Because you cannot be enlightened unless the world is enlightened. If the world wasn't enlightened from the beginning, there is no such thing as enlightenment. If the world was enlightened from the beginning, everything's enlightened in it. So you see, it's not a matter of accuracy of knowledge, because the knowing is moving. The knowledge is moving. It's just moving in an unknown way to itself, but we don't know how to know it as that unknown form. For example, if we were to consider philosophical organizational systems to human society, that would be something in the range of, yeah, just a different. So pretty much think of it this way. What I read earlier for you were organizational systems in common with all human beings. Now what I'm reading for you is philosophical organizational systems, and how you should, whenever you hear the word philosophy, it's the history of human perception. That means, how has our view on life shift or spectrumized or multiplied or branched out? For now, when it comes to the domain of philosophy, you have questions on the essence of reality. So let me read this for the viewers. You have metaphysics. Whenever you hear metaphysics, it's a question of what is the essence of reality? What is the essence of where I am right now? What is real to me? So that's when metaphysics is concerned. And most people hide underneath the structures of life, avoiding the essence that those structures create a context to preserve. Metaphysics is a core philosophical concern worldwide, dealing with questions about existence and the nature of reality. Whether it's the ancient Greeks pondering the essence of being, or Eastern philosophies exploring the concept of illusion versus reality, all cultures grapple with understanding the universe's fundamental nature. Yeah, that's really when you don't, it's not enough you just saw something. It's not like you just saw someone and you're like, I love that image. It's not like that. You want to see the nature of that intelligence that is active, where we're present in its activity. Epistemology. Whenever you hear epistemology, it's about the pursuit of knowledge. So, epistemology, the study of knowledge and belief, is universally relevant. Cultures everywhere have developed systems to define and validate knowledge, from empirical evidence to spiritual revelation. This branch of philosophy reflects our innate desire to understand the world and our place in it. You can say all my Mr. Within efforts are like are like to update the epistemology of the human species. It's pretty much us saying, how do we know what we know? Okay, it's based on this system. Can this system update? Then what we know is limited to if we care to update or not. Then we go to ethics and morality, guides to right conduct. Whenever you hear the word morality, guys, you got to think of like how good and evil is this entity, right? So whenever you see a moral system, it means we've given values on what is right and wrong. Most human beings usually need a system of justification. So it's either like people teaching you what's right or wrong, society teaching you what's right or wrong, books teaching you what's right or wrong, holy books teaching you what's right or wrong. Do you know experiences teaching you what's right or wrong? Ethical systems, though diverse, reflect a universal human concern with determining right from wrong. Every society has developed moral codes, be it through religious teachings, philosophical reasoning, or customary practices, highlighting our inherent drive to create a just and orderly society. Yeah, it makes sense. We're like, yo, we used to be savage animals. We've organized, we've come into a group, right? If we don't have a sense of right and wrong, it's as if, yeah, guys, everybody destroy everything we've built all the time, right? It's this whole time, right? Why? Because there's no right and wrong. You can punch a wall and feel like that was right. Imagine that world, right? So eventually, our relationship in survival, just surviving in this world, has made us realize, update our ethics and morality. But certain philosophers, like one comes to mind is Immanuel Kant. He spoke about the human being having a conscience, their conscience aligned to a universal ethics for man. So there's even a universal, all of these things I'm saying, you can even put them in a universal context, a universal sense of right and wrong, for example. Then we go to logic and reasoning. So logic and reasoning, it's the foundations of rational thought. Rational thought is another way of saying a sequential development that is meaningful. So it's kind of like every moment has a real way where it's happening, and there is a way the moment is happening to you. When a person wants to be logical about a situation, they want to reason the situation, they have to be like, okay, it's like I've worn sunglasses and I'm looking at the what color something is, right? So similarly, it's like you take off your sunglasses. So if you whenever this is my personal thing when I calculate things, when I try to calculate something, I take myself out of the equation. What that means is I try to think, if I wasn't me, how would I think about this? Or if I was just some random person who was looking at the situation I'm in, what would be the logical outsider view of the scene? Right? So when it comes to logic, it's event recoordination. I think my logical ability has updated because I'm a visual. My mind, I see images. So my imagination is like a film, and it's so easier for me to figure out what's happening in a film rather than figuring out what's happening in accordance to text. Do you see? It's as if you can tell apart right or wrong, or even logic, the meaning of the reasoning behind the scene in a scene, What I'm trying to say is this is my recommendation to every human being. You gotta at some point just think that nobody knows anything. Everybody could be wrong, okay? Just imagine this. Imagine you just had this eerie feeling like, yo, what if they all made a mistake? What if they're all wrong? What if the human species is thinking it's correct, but it's actually the thought that feels correct, not the actuality of what we're doing, right? Logic to me is a sword. It can cut through abstraction that sequentially is not meaningful. So logic is a way where think of it this way: fantasy and abstraction is like you're making a huge chunk of rock. Logic is constantly cutting this, like sculpting this rock, right? So you're given this perception, like right now in any moment of your life that you have a perception right now that you're hearing me. If you were to try to come to the logic, you would have to look at what are the fixed variables in the moment. What is the exact occurrence in the moment without interference of my own wanting it to shift? So it's very difficult to think about something, like to be a person and think about something without having a preference on it. So to bypass the emotional self-projected bias on analyzing a situation, it's to be selfless. Now somebody might say, Mr. Within, what do you mean to be selfless? How do I become selfless? Am I not a self in every moment? Physically you are, but based on how you've become acquainted with your inner realms, with your own mind space, I don't know how to say it, but if I ask you who you are and you're deciding based on who am I right now, based on how I feel or how I look, it's as if before you decide on the answer to the question, who am I, there is some attributeless viewing force that hasn't decided what you want to say to that question. So what I'm trying to say is before we decide on an inner model of reality or thought, there is an awareness choosing among various thoughts. So you are not your thoughts because you have a choice on which thought is decided upon. So what's really going on is there is an observing force, but the way I synthesized it for myself, that I was like, okay, just like you have a buffalo and a bird that can't, like the buffalo can't scratch its back and the bird needs food. So these two organisms have a symbiosis where the bird hangs out on the buffalo's back and the buffalo feels good and the bird is fed. For some time, I was like, what if human life is the visible effect of a symbiosis, meaning a collective intelligent space is living with matter. So it's like the soul is in symbiosis with a biological evolutionary organism because together what they can access surpasses the organism. So there could be this notion that the soul was never human. That means imagine, like even if when it came to yogis, the soul doesn't have a shape. Therefore it can experience endless shapes. It's like it's due to its nature of being beyond shape, right? So human pathways to cosmic advancement is how the human being is realizing they are. It's like you have insider access to existential activity. There is no greater external idea than the advancement of civilization. In the inner realms, I said the advancement of communication, but the advancement of communication leads to the source of communication. The source of communication is beyond human authority of capturing conceptually, of conceptual capture. So there is forces in this realm, moving forces that are not ideas, they are not shapes, but in how they know what they are, they move. So there is this thing, you got to do things to be, or you are and you become. You see, it's all about how much are you are you including yourself in your own in a cosmic life that is impersonal. So my life and service to my species is an impersonal matter. But what kind of human being I am to serve is a personal matter. Whoever you are, the advancement of humanity requires the advancement of humans. You are a human. Your advancement is required by the advanced civilizations of the future. In honor of all those human beings that will walk this earth after us, we serve the greatness of the realm to find its greatness. If we cannot build an advanced civilization, the future generations will. We live to make that route simpler for them. The journey of mankind, the mission of mankind is not that complex. You have an outer dimension, build something advanced. You have an inner dimension, advance. The poet Rumi has this incredible quote. He says, out beyond ideas from like 700 years ago, this dude was saying this. Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a place. I will meet you there. Mr. Within will tell you, out beyond inner extinction and out beyond ideas, out beyond destinies of outer extinction and inner extinction, or out beyond the challenges of the chaotic and ordered challenges of mankind. I will meet you in the advanced civilization of humanity. It's not paradise. Paradise is a different talk. The idea of the advanced civilization is not impinging on any sort of religious authority, because it is the expression, it's pretty much the idea of how great was the creation of how great was the creation of the greatest creator force. There is an authority here, just like we acknowledge the government. There is an authority. There is um, a multi-leveled, I guess, transcendental authority here. At least in my realm, such an acknowledgement is valid. Anyways, thank you for listening. And advanced civilization is the future's birthright. Good night.